Officer Kelly reporting for duty. Leaping leprechauns. If it isn't Harry Hooligan, up to his old shenanigans. That blunderous hoodlum is robbing Southwicks, and on a Sunday at that. Come on, then, lend a hand. We've got to catch the crook, recover the loot, and be careful to boot. Listen up, don't get KO'd by wild shopping carts, beach balls, or biplanes. And get moving. There's not a moment to lose. Keystone Kapers Basics. Number 1. Hook up your video game system. Follow your manufacturer's instructions. Number 2. With power off, plug in game cartridge. Number 3. Turn power on. If no picture appears, check connections of your game system to TV, then repeat steps 1 through 3. Number 4. Plug in the left joystick controller. Right controller is not used. Number 5. Difficulty switches and game select switches are not used. Number 6. The joystick controller is held with the red button in the left upper corner position. Keystone Kelly will run to the left or right when you push the joystick left or right. Kelly will jump when you push the red button. For a long running jump, press the red button while pushing your joystick left or right. Kelly will duck down when you pull the joystick back. Kelly will step into an elevator when you push the joystick forward. He'll step out when you push the joystick back. Number 7. The bonus timer is beneath your score. It starts to count down as soon as the game begins. When only 10 seconds remain, it flashes. Be warned. Number 8. Scoring. Points are earned each time a crook is apprehended. The sooner you catch him, the more points you'll get. Crooks 1 through 8 are worth 100 times the amount left on the bonus timer. Crooks 9 through 16 are worth 200 times the amount left on the bonus timer. After your 16th arrest, each crook will be worth 300 times the amount left on the bonus timer. Also, every recovered money bag and suitcase is worth 50 points. Number 9. Bonus cops. Each time your score increases by 10,000 points, a cop is added to your reserve squad, up to a maximum of 3 on screen at a time. Number 10. To start, press the game reset. The timer will immediately begin to count down. You begin with Keystone Kelly on active duty and 3 cops on reserve. Number 11. The game ends. When all of your cops are gone, any of the following will cause you to lose a cop. Colliding with a biplane, see lookout under special features, running out of time, allowing a crook to escape off the roof. Special features of Keystone Kapers. Elevators and escalators. The elevators can take Keystone Kelly up and down to any floor except the roof. Place Kelly in front of it and wait until the doors open. Then push your joystick forward to move Kelly into the green interior. Pull joystick back to exit. Kelly can also ride up on an escalator just by touching it. An escalator is the only way to get to the roof. Southwick Security System. Lucky for you, Southwick has security cameras scanning the store. The display at the bottom of the screen gives you an overview of all the floors, from the bargaining basement to the rooftop. Kelly is the black dot, the crook is the white dot. The elevator is the moving gray square in the middle, and the escalators are the black slashes on either end. Using the security system, you'll know which way Kelly should run to catch an elevator, an escalator, or a crook. Look out! You must jump to avoid a rapid onslaught of shopping carts, beach balls, and cathedral radios. If you collide, a valuable 9 seconds will be reduced from your time. As your score rises, the biplanes whiz by. Duck to avoid them. With each collision, you'll lose a cop. However, don't avoid money bags and stolen suitcases. You'll earn 50 points each time Kelly picks one up. Getting the feel of Keystone Kapers. If you're a new recruit to Kelly's forces, some basic training is all you need. First of all, practice your jumps. Running jumps and jump in place. Perfect timing is the real key here. Another thing Harry Hooligan is no dope. He's pretty crafty at switching floors when Kelly takes the elevator. So when you hop on, watch Harry on the security system display. Use the white dot. Don't get off until you're as close to that crook as possible. Join the Activision Billy Club. It all started at O'Shaughnessy's Grill. After a hard day of crime busting, Keystone Kelly and the coppers would gather in the brewery joint to share tips and potatoes. They called themselves the Billy Club. and you can join with a score of 35,000 points or more. O'Shaughnessy's is gone, but the club lives on. Send us a photo of the qualifying score on your TV along with your name and address, and we'll send you the official Billy Club emblem. Those dashing men in blue. Cops weren't always cops. They didn't get their nickname until after 1845 when the first police badge was issued. The main ingredient? Copper. The old-fashioned helmet-shaped hats were made out of felt and used until 1906. When not ready in hand, the Woodbilly Club or nightstick hung in the frog. It's a special holder. This was attached to a thick leather belt worn over a jacket around and buckled up with the department's insignia. Thumb cuffs were on early versions of handcuffs. The suspect's hands were put behind his back, and the small wooden restraints were screwed tightly around the thumbs. Yeah! How to bust into Billy Club. Tips from Gary Kitchen, designer of Keystone Kapers. Gary's a top-notch designer with a great variety of interests. Besides playing video games, Gary likes to read fiction and draw with pencil and charcoal. He's a natural at ping pong, too, and loves to travel. We're glad he found his way to Activision. Hi, gang. I'll begin by saying one thing. Don't get stuck on the roof, because, surprise, you can't get back down. To avoid this embarrassing predicament, stay behind the crook and don't get on the roof until he's up there. As your score rises, the beach balls bounce higher. Forget about trying to jump them. Instead, duck. Also, the biplanes and shopping carts start coming in waves, so learn the rhythms and do the Keystone stuff. The tune of the shopping carts, it's jump, run, two-step, jump, run, two-step, etc. For the biplane beat, it's duck, run, three-step, duck, run, three-step, etc. Learn to adjust to change rhythms. And to save yourself a few steps, have Kelly jump onto the escalator. He'll be halfway up already. Now go out and get those guys. And when you take a break, write to me. I want a full report. Gary Kitchen. Okay, guys, that was the manual for Keystone Kapers. This is a game that I started playing when I was 8 years old on the Atari 2600. I do want to apologize for my microphone. It is not in the best condition. I can't afford a new one right now, but the show must go on. Let's talk a little about this game because it came out before Super Mario Brothers, but after Pitfall. The thing I like about this game that does it for me more than Pitfall, so to speak, is that there's an easy end goal, so it's more of an arcade game like Super Mario, but 2 years before Super Mario came out. So this is really the precursor to Super Mario that we have to thank for all the delicious platformers we have hanging out today that we get to play. Without this, you wouldn't have Super Mario. Without Super Mario, you wouldn't have the modern Rayman series. So it is really responsible for your modern-day platformers. What I do like about this that it improves on the Pitfall genre is that there isn't a set path. Pitfall, if you don't know, and we didn't really know this back in the day, but there was only one way to beat Pitfall. So if you wanted to get to the end screen, and granted there is no kill screen for Keystone Kapers, but if you wanted to get to the end screen for Pitfall, you would need to take a very specific path. And if you took any deviation from that path, it would leave you with less time than you needed to complete the 20-minute challenge. The thing about this game that I like that avoids that is every time you catch the hooligan, it's kind of a completion cycle and you get to go again. So that's kind of the Donkey Kong feel of it meets the Super Mario feel of it, if you want to talk in terms of Nintendo arcade games. This came out after Donkey Kong and before Super Mario. It kind of fits in that kind of melding pot perfectly, and it like I said, it's very impressive because it is a precursor to the Super Mario series. You did have things like Jungle Hunt around at the same time. Jungle came out in 82. That again was a side-scrolling multiple-screen platformer. So you did have things before this, but this really set the stone as a solid platformer. Jungle Hunt didn't have the entertainment value or the replay value that this game had, although Jungle Hunt did have different stages. It had the water level and the boulder level, etc. So the game ends up being a nice in between ground, a meeting point between those early side scrollers, it being an early side scroller, and a Donkey Kong type of game. Donkey Kong was indeed the game that Gary Kitchen worked on before this game. This was his third game on the Atari 2600, his third game in his career, I believe. He started in '82 with Space Jockey on the 2600. Then he did the Donkey Kong 2600 port. After that, in '83, there was Keystone Kapers. After that, Pressure Cooker for the 2600. In '84, he did Ghostbusters for the 2600. In '85, he worked on Gary Kitchen Game Maker for the Commodore 64 and Gary Kitchen Game Maker for the Apple II. In '89, he moved on to the NES with Stealth ATF. In 1990, he released A Boy and His Blob, Trouble with Bloblonia on the NES. That is a very popular game that I really get infuriated with because it's I don't like wasting the jelly beans to figure out what they do, and I don't want to read a walkthrough because that kind of seems like it defeats the purpose of the game. In '90, he also did Destination Earthstar and Gary Kitchen's Battle Tank. In '91, he went on to The Simpsons Bart versus the Space Mutants, The Simpsons Bart versus the World, and he also did Home Alone in '91. In '92, he did Gary Kitchen's Super Battle Tank War in the Gulf on the Super Nintendo and also the Game Boy. In '94, he closed out with Super Battle Tank 2 for the Super Nintendo. He did work on some handheld games in '05, ATV Thunder Ridge Racers on the Game Boy Advance. In '07, March of the Penguins for both the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo DS. In 2008, he did Kong, King of Atlantis for the Game Boy Advance. In 2009, he released Original Frisbee Disc Golf Ultimate and Golf, very strange name, for the Nintendo DS, and Wiffle Ball for the Nintendo DS. I sure do love me some Wiffle Ball. Now, in terms of playing this game, you do want to take note that you always need to be taking the elevator. The manual does mention and hint on the fact that it is somewhat of a rhythm-based game. That is true, but that's not all there is to it. I mean, yes, with the biplanes here, it's always a rhythm. I've noticed that with the shopping carts, the thing is that the length between the shopping carts as well as the speed changes. So you need to really take note about the length between those carts to know which kind of jump you need to be doing, whether it's going to be a short jump and a long jump or two long running jumps. Also, with the balls, when the beach balls start bouncing high, Gary Kitchen says to duck, and he's right when it's one. But when it's two, if you try to duck both of them, it is impossible to get through that screen, and you end up backtracking and going left, right, left, right. So what you want to do is duck under one and jump over the other one. It's kind of you have to time it in the moment. It's almost like playing Resident Evil where you have to, juke and dodge depending on what's coming at you. But sometimes you're ducking, sometimes you're jumping, and if you zig when you're supposed to zag, then it's not going to work out and you're going to lose 9 seconds. In terms of the radios, they're not going to be an issue for you until they become a grouping of three, in which case, if you've ever played Pitfall, I would recommend using the same strategy if you've learned how to triple jump over the alligators without moving. It's kind of a quick forward movement and jump at the same time without too much running beforehand. It's a little more difficult to pull off than some other Atari moves, but if you've played Pitfall and you've mastered that alligator move, it's the same exact hand movement. If you're going for the achievements, I think the most common question I've read online about achievements is how do you get that last bag up there on the roof? Because when Harry's on the screen, you cannot have the bag on the screen at the same time, so the bag goes away. The answer is you have to let him run 2 screens ahead, grab the bag, and then jump as fast as possible, because jumping gives you a little bit quicker momentum forward, I believe. Jump as fast as possible to catch up to him before he gets to the end of the last screen. Other than that, your best friend is going to be practice. remembering to look at specifically the level you're at and try to ignore the speed of the objects moving on the other levels, because that's how they're trying to trick you up. You can see how slow the card is moving on the level 1 there and how fast the plane is moving. If you're distracted by the plane, that's what's going to get you to jump before the cart gets to you. Remember your timings for the earlier jumps when you get to later stages, because they're going to circle back and give you those slower items again to try to trick you up. I will say it is kind of charming that Harry the Hooligan dressed in a jail uniform to rob the shopping mall here. I don't know many crooks that pre-dress to get caught, so he's not thinking about success. Maybe he needs a book or two of about self-esteem, but I don't know how much we want to help the hooligan here. Now, growing up, I would never have thought of this, but the whole time I've been editing this video, all I can think of is how this game is the perfect green screen, but I can't green screen it because then I can't show the game off. You will notice that sunset in the background. Activision became famous for putting those sunsets in their games. And it might not seem like much by today's standards, but back in the day when you were dealing with a lot of bad 2600 ports with no care or love given to them, to see that level of detail and touch, and it kind of just added to the game to an extraordinary level, more than you'd think possible. And now the airplanes get really fast. You have to go down 5 times in order to get through there. But the sunsets really did add a touch, a coziness. That's the word, a coziness. They added a coziness to these Activision games and let you know you were playing something that they really cared about and they wanted you to enjoy over a long period of time. So this would probably be one of my best picks for the 2600 for platforming. I mentioned Pitfall, and I would recommend that with the caveat that you have to read a walkthrough to figure out the exact path if you want to see the quote-unquote kill screen of Pitfall. This game is more like Super Mario, where you're going left to right, or in this case, down to up. And your objective is more of a simple platformer rather than an adventure. I think the goal of Pitfall was for you to sit down and draw your own map, because that would be the only way. You'd have to draw your own map, you'd have to list out all the treasures, and then you'd have to map out the best course to get through everything. So I think Pitfall is a adventure / map making game, whereas this game is a true platformer. If you want a similar game to this game, if you checked it out, you like it, and you're looking for other Atari 2600 games that are good platformers, the closest thing I can think of to this game would be Hero, which is another Activision game. It came out in 1984, which was a year after this game. It is not a straightforward left to right or bottom to top platformer, but rather kind of more of a cross between a platformer and a bit of an adventure game, almost like Spelunky. Your goal is to rescue people trapped in a cave, and you do have a light gun and a jetpack. There's also a version that came out for the Sega system, and that version is better because it uses 2 buttons, the 2 buttons on the controller, as opposed to only having one. So you do have more control over the character, and it controls better. So if you like this game, you want to play an Atari 2600 game that's like this, I would say play Hero. And if you don't mind switching consoles and getting a little bit different of a feel, still retro, still old, but a little bit more updated, play the Sega version. So that's about it for this extended look at Keystone Kapers for the Atari 2600, programmed by Gary Kitchen and released in 1983. I want to thank you for coming along with me on this journey, and I hope you have a wonderful gaming session. Till next time.